Good morning, everybody. It's Valerie. Hope you're doing well and staying safe and isolated during this horrible pandemic. And I'll chat with you a little on in the video. As usual, things got away from me, and my oils are ready. I'm going to be making my salt bars today. Sold out the other day, and my customers love them, so I'm going to replenish them. And so in here I have my heated oils, and I forgot to add my kale and clay. I haven't made soap in a little over a week, I think, maybe a little. And I don't know about you, but although I think about soap all the time and what my next one's going to be, if I don't actually do it, sometimes I feel a little off. So anyway, get my kale and clay mixed up. And because this is a salt soap, I'm not going to add any colloidal oatmeal to it like I usually do. But and in here I have my aloe vera juice and some mulberry silk dissolved in it, and I'm just going to go ahead and mix it together. My oils are actually at 190. Had no idea they had gotten that hot that quickly, and I think it's probably because I'm only using 3 oils today. I'm using castor at 10%, coconut at 10%, and olive oil at 80%. So there weren't as many oils to get mixed up in there. I'm going to be super fatting with cocoa butter afterwards, which is over on the stove heating up. So I'm just going to get this kind of started emulsifying, and then we'll chat after I bring it to Trace. And I have 2 ounces of coconut milk that I'm going to add right now, and then I'm going to save 2 ounces for after the cook. I'm going to be coloring with some infused nettle leaf powder and indigo infused oil. And just a minute. I hate trying to talk over the stick blender. I want to get it to at least a medium trace. Right now I'm at a light trace. You can see it's sticking to the part of the stick blender. Kind of adhering to it. And it's leaving if you can see in there, it kind of leaves a faint trace when I lift up. That means a light trace. I'm at a medium, so I'm going to leave it there. The idea for this soap, I mean, I've been making salt bars, but I just finished a book. It was called Where the Crawdads Sing. And I don't know if many of you have read it. A couple of friends of mine recommended it. And I felt a closeness to it because supposedly it transpired on the Outer Banks of North Carolina, which is very dear to my heart and my family's heart. We've been vacationing there since I was 15 years old, and I'm now 60, if that gives you any idea. And it feels like a second home. So the protagonist, Kaya, is supposedly, in the book, I mean, it is fiction, so, you know, there are parts of it that I thought, no, this just can't be true. But she was born and raised in the marshlands of North Carolina, and she was basically abandoned by every member of her family. She had several siblings who all left home. Her mother left before her brother and she were abandoned. And then they were left with a drunken and abusive father. Well, the brother finally decided that he couldn't take it anymore. And Kaya, if I'm not mistaken, was just 7 years old. So she, after her father left, she pretty much raised herself and took care of herself. Well, the reason that the book is even though lots of it was unbelievable, it was endearing to me because this lonely, abandoned little girl was left to fend for herself, and she developed such an inner strength and esteem and learned to do so many things. So she's strong and she's independent, but yet deep down inside there's this loneliness. And so the reason that I'm coloring the soap as I'm going to is because the marshlands lead to the sea. And of course my nettle coloring will be the nettle, and then which leads into the blue, which is my indigo, and then the white, the top is going to be white. It's just like the white sky. And that's where these colors are coming from. Because it's a salt bar, which, you know, this book was based on around the coast and the salt. I'm thinking that the white will just be the salt air and the clouds. But I am going to be adding about 12 ounces of sea salt, fine sea salt. Now, some people don't like salt bars. They think they're scratchy. My salt bars are not scratchy. I love them. My husband loves them. And those customers of mine who hate it when I sell out just love them. And maybe it's the formula or the way that I super fat, because they're super fatted up front at 5%, excuse me, and then afterwards another 3%, which is 8%. And then the colorings that I'm adding are also infused in oil, so that helps. And my phone is ringing, and I will be back in just a minute. Sorry about that. That was just a spam call, but I'm always afraid not to check my phone in case one of my kids might need me, or my mom and dad. Anyway, where was I? Into the story. Well, those are the reasons for the colors. So, if you haven't read the book and you like the coast, I think it would be an interesting read for you, especially that's the first book I've read in over a year. Since my daughter's accident, I haven't really been able to concentrate, and I had another friend send me a book, and I tried to read it a few months after the accident, and I just couldn't. I wasn't in a place to concentrate and focus. So that's next on my list. I'll let you know what that is the next time I make a video. But this one, because of my love for the salt water and the ocean, the coast, I finished it in 2.5 days. So, like I said, it's not something that, I mean, I couldn't imagine that one of my grandchildren at 7 to 9 years old would be able to, last alone in the marsh. But it was a wonderful story anyway. So let's see. My soap, as you can see, is starting to cook. And I did expect quite a bit of separation, which I have. I am scenting this today because I wanted something earthy yet coastal. I'm scenting with patchouli and bergamot and grapefruit and orange, and it gives a really fresh, clean, yet earthy smell. That's the kind of scent that it has. And I would go in and stir this, but I'm just going to see what happens. Right now it's trying to fold over on itself, and I'm just going to try to leave this one alone. I have a habit of playing with my soap too much, but that's just the way I do it. But I am going to try and see what happens and let this one kind of fold over on itself. I was going to do an introduction with showing myself my face today, but my hair, oh my goodness, I haven't showered yet or taken my bath and shampooed my hair, and believe me, it not pretty. So you're just going to see this part of me today, just my hands. So I had made a lot of soap over the last couple of months in anticipation of my annual spring customer appreciation open house. But because of the pandemic, of course I canceled that. But I'm doing it virtually or online. And people are picking up from my front porch, or I'm meeting them at a neutral location and just, setting the soaps down and they're picking it up. They're using PayPal, or if they pick up from my porch, they'll just leave it on my table out on my porch. I miss the physical interaction, the hugging, the sharing a meal. But I have to say that this has really done much better than I thought it would. I have one more week. I'm going to let it go through next week because I wanted people to be able to get their soaps for their Easter baskets or Mother's Day gifts. And they're really taking advantage of the specials. I just went into my website online and reduced all of the prices. And they're really taking advantage of it. So that might be something that you want to look into. Go ahead and get my whisk. So I'm going to be whisking it down pretty soon. My crock pot is on low. And this is rising on up. I'm just going to stir it down, whisk it down. I love my salt bars, especially, well, they're nice in the winter because, I don't use it every day in the winter, and in the summer, they're really nice. when you've been working outside a lot. My husband works outside and gets grimy, and he likes to use it. And my son-in-law, well, I don't know if I think he uses it when I have it. So I don't think this is going to take a very long time. But I just felt like chatting with you since it had been a while. There goes that phone again. Okay, I'm going to stir it again because it is separating quite a bit, which I expected. Usually get quite a bit of separation with this high olive oil. But I don't think it's going to take long to get it to come back together, and it's going to be done. My oils, my mixture is at 218. So I could stick blend it again and bring it back together pretty quickly. But I'm just going to see what happens. I am going to go ahead and turn my crock pot off because I think the temperatures are hot enough that it's going to continue cooking without the added heat. But anyway, I just wanted to change this up after I was inspired by the girl in my book. And it's always good sometimes to change things and see how it goes. And I'm not sure how the nettle is going to be, if it's going to be, the last couple of times I've used it, I think it was not as dark as I had wanted it to be, so I had to wind up adding some spinach powder with it to get a deeper color. And if that happens, I'll do it again. But let's see if there's anything else I can tell you that's going on with me. Nope, not much. I'm just a simpleton, and I like it that way. Well, I take that back. Yesterday, well, I'll go back a little further. Let's see, 13 or 14 years ago, we had a baby llama born to us. We had 3, and we had just moved over here. I'm trying to get my years straight because it just doesn't seem like she was that old, but maybe she was. But the mother didn't like humans much. Just all she wanted was you give her food, and then she wanted to go back and be in the shaded, woodsy area of our property. Well, one day we were down in that area and saw that she had a new baby, and we were shocked. But I don't know how old the baby was, because obviously it didn't look healthy. So we brought it to the house, called the vet. They told us to try and do different things, and it didn't work, and we lost the baby. Well, she lost another one, and then the third one, we were able to get her and the baby up at the barn in a stall, and made her stay there with the baby so that we could monitor and watch. And the vet came, gave it its shots and everything. Well, she lived, and she was so spunky and spry. That little thing would run and rip and jump, and it almost looked like she was doing cartwheels. I'd never seen anything like it. Well, when she was 4 years old, she got down, and the vet told us that she had this deerworm disease, which affects their neurological system. Well, after 2 months at the vet, she recovered. We brought her home, but she still walked a little sideways, would prefer to be leaning. And then 2 years later, the same thing happened to her. And when that happens, all you can do is get them up and worm them for like a month or sometimes more. And then it requires monthly wormings. in between, and that's even when they're healthy, they need to be wormed every month. Well, a couple of days ago, I noticed that she seemed to just be getting thinner, and then the day after that, she got down and couldn't get up. Well, then the guys got her up, but she couldn't stand. She couldn't walk. So yesterday morning, she was no better, and I finally decided she had struggled long enough, and we just let her go to sleep, humanely, I will add, because thousands and thousands of dollars later, and she could be with the others, but she could never do the things they did, and she was just fighting all the time to stay straight, and she had to lean, and I just felt so bad for her. And I'll admit that since the accident, I haven't spent as much time with them as I used to, and I've been a little negligent, so I felt guilty. But I did get to spend about an hour with her yesterday morning, just laid her head in my lap and talked to her, and I told her how much joy she had brought to me, and that I was sorry that things had happened the way they had, but I was going to let her go to sleep and just rest. And I'm heartbroken, but yet I'm relieved for her. And quite honestly, I knew that I was not up to 2 months of physically pulling and tugging and trying to save her again, physically or mentally. I'm still trying to, save myself, I guess. So that's kind of heartbreaking. I did do a soap once, was black and white, because my llama Oreo was black and white. But anyway, that's just a sad note, and most of the time when I'm sad or making soap is what soothes me, if you will. So that's what's happening here on the farmette. I call it a farmette because we only have like 10 cows, and we're down to 2 llamas. We did have chickens, but I'm going to replenish those. It's just the foxes have been unkind to them. And then we have 2 geese, and so that's what's happening here. Excuse me while I get in front of you. And this is almost ready. It's turning a really pretty translucent, it's getting thicker like a mashed potato. Just whisk it a little bit along to keep it together. Oh, hello, kitty. That's Boots, my cat, letting me know he's back there. Yeah. Okay. I think we are almost there. I'm going to get take a little out to do the zap test. It's not quite ready, but it will be soon. I hope after I add the salt that it's going to stay fluid enough for me to do what I want to do. So I'm going to pause this and do my zap test, and then bring you back when I'm ready to add my additives and mold it. Hey, I'm sorry. I went ahead and added my Superfat of cocoa butter, and I heated my coconut milk more because it just didn't feel warm enough to me. And I guess I heated it too much because it overflowed in my microwave, so I had to get some more and heat that up so that I would have enough. So I've added my Superfat of cocoa butter and my 2 ounces of extra coconut milk that I withheld from the beginning of the cook. If you remember, I added 2 ounces while I was bringing it to Trace. So now I'm going to add in my yogurt, which is at room temperature. And always remember to mix that in very thoroughly because it will cook, or it will leave little white specks in your soap of uncooked yogurt, and that's not pretty. Speaking from experience. And you can see that that helps to loosen things up. And when I'm adding my salt, you're going to see that that needs to happen because it will get thick quickly. I also will unmold this soap probably within an hour after I mold it, because the salt thickens it up quickly, and if you wait too long, when you do cut it, it'll be crumbly. Had that happen too. And I don't like to put mine in individual molds because I find I have a harder time with that. I don't know why. I guess because I'm taking the time to spoon the mixture in rather than just pouring. And this is hot water, just keeping it moist. Let me get my bigger spoon. And because it's getting hard to stir. Gonna check my temperature because I want to add my honey, and I want it to be under about 170 or below, and I'm still right at about 172, so I'm going to give that a couple minutes to cool down. I am going to be putting in my tall and skinny mold. I like that design, but while this is cooling, I'm going to go ahead and dump out my hot water containers for my soap that have been in the oven, and this is hot water keeping them warm. Have a little dry sink over there. But this is going to put my indigo in one. And I can adjust as I go. You know, since it is infused in my oil, it'll be easier to add more if I need to. Stir this nettle around because it sinks at the bottom. This might have a little bit of speckles effect, but that's okay. The Marsh is very imperfect. It's very beautiful, but it's very imperfect, so a few specks won't hurt anything. And I do think I'm probably going to have to add some spinach powder to that. So let me go ahead and do that. While I'm waiting, I'm going to mix up just a little bit of my spinach powder. I have to do this every time. I don't know why. I just don't go ahead and do it. And then I'm going to use the hot water to dissolve that little bit. Just a little bit of water, just enough to get it smooth. Probably a quarter of a teaspoon. hopefully will help bring out the green. Okay, let me check my temperature again. Says we're about 170, 170.8, but that's close enough for me. Because my honey, I have 2 tablespoons here. That's going to help boost my lather because salt tends to stifle the lather. And it also has 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar that helps to thin it out so that it will incorporate more evenly into my batter. And then I added 1 teaspoon of sodium lactate this time because I'm not going to need it to harden, but I hope that it'll help keep it a little more fluid while I'm trying to get this in the mold. And you'll see that once I add the salt, things do start to thicken up pretty quickly. So I'm going to mix it with my colors before I pour the salt into there to help things go more smoothly. And see, that's a nice consistency. So I'm pretty happy about that. And the lather will be boosted by the honey and the apple cider vinegar. And I also used aloe vera juice as my liquid, as my lye liquid. So hopefully all these things are going to help boost the lather. Because it's kind of, you know, you have salt, which takes away from lather. You have, and then I would have to up my coconut oil considerably. And I don't want to do that because I don't want it to be drying. And then the high olive oil won't promote much lather either. So you have to get it in there any which way you can, and that's what I'm trying to do. Okay, I am ready to start mixing my colors. So I'm just going to pour. And try to get these even without having to measure. That's my indigo. This is my green. And I have to also take into consideration, I heated 2 molds because the salt will add more volume to the soap, meaning that my mold won't hold what it normally would because of the addition of salt. So you get this mixed up, and then I'll know if I need to add any more indigo. And the answer is yes, because that is not very blue at all. It's more of a green. But I can't add too much. It's more of a gray blue. I don't know. I think I prefer using indigo when I just mix it with hot water. I think I get deeper results. It's not bad. We'll leave it there. And I'm going to spray it down with hot water. Next is my nettle and spinach that is going to represent the marsh. Still not very green, but it's okay too. It's green enough. Now, I'm going to put the rest of my essential oils into my leftover batter for the white. Smells good. Oh, wow, that smells good. I love having a batter that I don't have to add anything to for whiteness. All right. Let's see. I think you can see that. I'm going to start with the green because when you're on land, you know, you go through the marsh before you get to the sea. Ah! You know what I did? You know what I didn't do? I forgot to add my salt. Scoop it back in here. Told you I felt unorganized today. Excuse the delay. I'm just scooping it out of the mold, putting it back in here. And now I need to start adding my salt. So here we go. Now I'm going to pour again. Sorry about that. Okay. Bang this down. Okay, now I'm going to add my salt to my indigo portion. And then pour on top of the green. Actually quite pretty. I'm going to bang it down again. There aren't going to be there will be no design other than just the layers. Okay, and then the white or the natural. Rest of the salt goes in there. Can you hear it scraping around in there? Okay. I think what I'm going to do is just use my spoon. And what little bit of soap I have left in this crock, I'll just put in a separate mold to use here at home because I don't have any extra color left, or I could always mix up a little bit more just to use here at home. And I think I might do that because it's still cooperating pretty well. If I do anything, I'm just going to give it a little wavy top. And that's it. Now, I'm going to take out a little more of the white. I'm not doing that. I'm just going to plop it in there. I'm not going to worry about the color. It's just to be used here. This is my Tall Skinny Mini from Steph's Micas. They won't be tall, but we can certainly use them in my bathroom because I love them. Okay. And that's it. And I will bring you back when we cut them, which won't be long. Well, I'm back. It's been about an hour and a half. And I had to get it unmolded, and I went ahead and cut my end piece off. And I cut the little baby bars, they look like little pieces of cake, into little squares for us to use here at home. These bars are not the smoothest bars to look at, and while they don't have much lather right away, after a couple of weeks they really do, the lather just seems to bump up, and they're really nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and make my first cut. They're still warm, which I like, but you can see the green is very faint. I should have went ahead and used more of the spinach powder. And then here's the blue and the natural white. And I don't expect there to be really any difference all the way through. I'm not cutting these very thick because they're so tall. And I do classify these as spa bars. But like I said, they're not real smooth on the edges. I guess I could fix that if I wanted to, but we'll see. Just some, I mean, it's really nothing special, but I just see the marsh here is leading into the sea, and the white is the sky, sea breeze. So that is Kaya, Martian Sea. In the book, they actually referred to her as the Marsh Girl. So I think I'm going to name it the Kaya the Marsh Girl Salt Bars. So until I see you again, please stay well, take care of yourself, take the proper precautions, and until we can get on the other side of this horrible unknown virus. Take care.